This week on Jerusalem Dateline, the battle continues over Israel's plan to annex communities in the biblical heartland. Will it happen? Plus, an economic plan to bring Palestinians and Israelis together. And Aliyah, Jews returning to the Promised Land from the four corners of the earth. And what happens when they arrive to the land of Israel. All this and more this week on Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. AIPAC, the main pro-Israel lobby in the U.S., is, according to Israeli media, telling lawmakers privately they're free to criticize Israel regarding its plan to annex the West Bank, those biblical areas of Judea and Samaria. But they're not the only ones opposed to a plan that will bring hundreds of thousands of Israelis under Israeli law. The European Union, Arab states, and others have criticized Israel for its plan to annex Israeli communities in the West Bank. The German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas added his voice Wednesday in a visit to Jerusalem.
We're of the opinion that annexation would not be compatible with international law, and that is why we continue to stand by a negotiated, consensual two-state solution.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu set July 1st as the deadline for annexation. It was originally part of President Trump's deal of the century peace plan. But a senior U.S. official said that annexation can wait until after July 1st. It appears the administration wants to make sure that alternate Prime Minister Benny Gantz and Foreign Minister Gabi Ashkenazi are fully on board before the plan is implemented on the ground. Maas stopped short of saying how Germany or the EU would respond.
In our view, we are now at a time when diplomacy and negotiations must be given a second chance.
Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh warned of serious consequences if the plan goes ahead.
This annexation is a total erosion of our national aspirations. The annexation is a total erosion of the geographic base of the future Palestinian state. And the world has to choose between international law and annexation.
Some Israeli community leaders in Judea and Samaria warned the plan would lead to a Palestinian state that still supports terror. But Oded Revivi, mayor of Efrat, a large settlement near Jerusalem, told CBN News these are the times to seize an historic opportunity.
The Trump deal is a vision for peace to try and create a better atmosphere in this region. The legal concept is applying Israeli law where Jews live today, which basically would mean that our status will equal to the status of the rest of the residents of Israel.
Israelis returned in earnest to Judea and Samaria after 2,000 years as a result of its victory in the 1967 Six-Day War. Palestinians want all of it as a future state. The coming weeks will be crucial in determining who controls this land. While the battle over annexation goes on, some wonder if the plan could actually help Palestinians economically. We talked with Avi Zimmerman, the president of the Judea and Samaria Chamber of Commerce. For years, this group has been quietly building economic and personal bridges between Israelis and Palestinians with promising results. Avi Zimmerman, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
Tell us, what is the Chamber of Commerce of Judea and Samaria, and what is your vision?
In late 2017, a group of business people in the region of Judea and Samaria came together to establish the chamber with the goal of economic development for the region. You know, the basics, call it capitalism if you will, free trade, open markets, leveraging the opportunities of the startup nation going from the greater Tel Aviv bubble, making its way eastward towards Judea and Samaria. As part of that, we understood that the fabric of the region includes both Israelis and Palestinians, and we need to engage both populations in order to create as much efficiency and opportunity for the economic sector. So there are Israeli and Palestinian leaders throughout that period of time in the organization, and our programs cater both to the Israeli population and the Palestinian population, as well as what we consider the integrated business community.
So how has that relationship gone between Israeli businessmen and Palestinian businessmen?
Well, it grows day by day. Everyone hears about success, and success breeds success. So it's an opportunity. It's unprecedented in the sense that the region specifically has known employment relationships between Israelis and Palestinians, largely Israeli manufacturers who are employing Palestinian employees. But the actual business-to-business ties have often been mitigated due to all sorts of different policies, whether it's security and access policy or Palestinian Authority limitations on the ability for business and commerce to happen between Israeli and Palestinian businesses. It's ironically been easier with these policy limitations to do business, let's say, between Ramallah and Tel Aviv, but actual neighbor-to-neighbor relationships in terms of business has been almost impossible. So this is somewhat revolutionary.
Does it give you hope for a grassroots relationship that peace could come person to person, business to business?
Instead of guessing what peace could be like, we're actually talking about the successes of today. We look at economics, or even the most basic building block of an economy is a business transaction. What happens in that transaction? Two people come together, they have a shared interest, they have an agreed upon set of terms of engagement, and everybody comes away with a win-win. Let's build upon that model, one win-win after another, and we'll see that the byproduct will be peace.
Talk about IBR. What is that?
The Integrated Business Roundtable was founded in January of this year. It's actually a group of impact investors, faith-motivated impact investors based in the United States who understand that there's potential in the Israeli-Palestinian integrated business model. By looking at the region and the economy as an emergent economy waiting for new opportunities to happen, they say, let's build the capacity for this by bringing private capital and private investment.
You're there on the ground. You experience it day to day. Do you have hope for the future there in Judea and Samaria?
I can name a series of meetings that I had today that provide hope. That happens, thank God, pretty much on a day-to-day basis. Every time that there's, again, that same business transaction or the potential for a business transaction, it is hope by definition because it's incremental, measurable progress. It's not just an idea, it's something that we can do each and every day.
Avi Zimmerman, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Up next, the miracle of Aliyah. Join CBN News as it follows these Ukrainian Jews to the land of Israel. In Hebrew, it's called Aliyah, the Jewish people returning to the Promised Land. Just before COVID-19 hit, I traveled from Israel to Ukraine for a close-up look at this prophetic story in action. In the early morning, 130 Ukrainian Jews landed in Tel Aviv to begin a new life. Many see the moment when these new immigrants step onto the tarmac here at Ben Gurion Airport as the time when the words of the Bible written thousands of years ago come to life.
There has never been a people who have been exiled for so long who then return to their homeland, return to their language. And so there's the prophetic reality of this that's so huge that each one of these people, Isaiah saw, Jeremiah saw, they saw this happening, and now we are here to witness it. We are here to be part of it.
Their flight marked the one-year passing of Yael Eckstein's father, Rabbi Yechiel Eckstein, the founder of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, now simply called the Fellowship.
He always felt a calling, that it wasn't him, but God working through him to unite Christians and Jews, to bring biblical prophecy to fruition.
Although their trip ended in Tel Aviv, the life-changing journey began more than 1,000 miles and a number of choices away.
We know that Israel is the best place because we have also our relatives there, friends.
Israel has many advantages. It's much safer. You just can go out at midnight and feel perfectly safe. It's so different from here. And it's warm. So it's not as cold as here, so it's important.
Some saw opportunity like 53-year-old Eugene.
My future is no good. It's this country. I know in Israel I have a future. I have job, I have pay.
Some escaped the war in eastern Ukraine.
It was very dangerous. In the past 3 years, we've spent most of our time in the occupied territories, with severe shortages of electricity and water, and we survived the shellings.
For some, it was a matter of faith.
It's decision not only mine, it's decision of God. It's decision for my family.
The fellowship helped smooth the way by providing documentation, logistics, and finances to bridge the gap from their lives in Ukraine to a new start in Israel. This orientation helped provide the information about their next step. Benjamin Haddad is director of Aliyah for the fellowship.
We want to get higher the joy and the hope and get less the afraid. But there is all the time this moment together in the hearts of the people, the fighting from the future, from the unknown, and the big hope and the happiness about new beginning, a new country, and a new future that is waiting for them.
My message today to them was they made the right decision, because when they will be there, it will be difficult, but the end will be very successful.
Rabbi Fishetsky prayed for the immigrants as workmen outside organized their luggage. Each person's belongings get a number, and they're permitted 70 kilos or just over 150 pounds to start their new life. With last-minute instructions and documents in hand, some headed back to their apartments for a last-minute goodbye. It's about 11 o'clock here in Kiev, just outside the Kavalenko apartment. They're loading their last belongings, and in a few hours they'll be on their way to Tel Aviv, but they haven't told most of their neighbors.
Only one neighbor from this home knows about my departure.
Only one neighbor?
Only one neighbor.
And because you don't want the other ones to know. But why? Why don't you want them to know?
Because people didn't like me, didn't want that me and my family will be happy.
Because you're Jewish?
Yes.
Irina keeps a mother's hope alive.
I dream about oranges, and about strawberry for my daughter. You see, it's a very simple wish, but I think it's mother's wish for her children.
The hardest part was leaving her best friend. After they finished loading their luggage, a last hug and goodbye to their best friends. The family then headed to Kiev International Airport for a few more hours of waiting before boarding their plane. It's about a 3-hour flight from Kiev to Tel Aviv, but for most of the new immigrants on this plane, this flight will be the biggest step of their lives.
Not only mine, the step of my family, my husband and my daughters.
A safe landing on a new land.
Now I appear in my real motherland. I returned with my children and my husband, and now I'm so happy, so proud. The most important thing in my life.
For some, it fulfilled the hope of generations.
It was a dream of my grandmother.
She died, and if she was here, I would tell her, I made your dream come true. I'm here. I'm in Israel. I'm home. That's why I'm crying.
With threats to the Jewish people rising worldwide, Eckstein believes it's time for the Jews of the world to come home. The fellowship typically brings 5,000 Jews to Israel each year.
Sometimes I think that the reason why Isaiah said that the Jewish people would come home to Israel in the end of days is because he knew that anti-Semitism would once again raise its ugly head, and if they didn't come home to Israel, the only country where there's a Jewish government, where there's a Jewish army whose only concern is protecting the Jewish people, unlike anywhere in the entire world, that there wouldn't be any Jewish people left in the world because of all the anti-Semitism. And so I look at this as you never know when the borders are going to close. You never know when it's going to be too late. And so the fellowship, as soon as we have the opportunity to bring a Jewish person home, we do it immediately.
Coming up, so how do new immigrants adjust to a new land? Scott Ross takes a look when we come back. Nearly 70 years before the modern state of Israel was reestablished, the Jewish people began to return to their ancient homeland, just as the prophets had foretold. And as you've just seen, they keep coming. A few years ago, CBN's Scott Ross met some new immigrants at their first home in Israel, and he talked with them about why they came.
They come from all over the world to a place many have never been. Yet the Jewish people have longed to return to this land for thousands of years.
I'm Sarah from France.
Hi, I'm Dylan from Uruguay. I did Aliyah in December. I'm here because I love Israel. Hi, my name is Debbie. I'm from Córdoba, Argentina.
I'm Nikita from Russia.
Hi, my name is Gadi. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I made Aliyah in December. I'm a lawyer in New York, and I'm here because it's the only Jewish state there is.
It's called Aliyah, literally going up. Taken from biblical times, the term describes when people went up to Jerusalem to worship at the temple. Now it means immigrating or returning to Israel. You're an American.
Yep.
Why did you come?
It's a beautiful country. I love it here.
Yeah, Arizona's beautiful.
Arizona is beautiful, but it's not Israel.
For almost 3,000 years, we were disconnected, but we were praying for Jerusalem. So it's really a gathering of exiles, and it continues every day.
I spoke with Natan Sharansky, former leader of the Jewish Agency, which oversees bringing the Jewish people home. Sharansky made headlines in the 80s as a political prisoner in the former Soviet Union. International pressure led to his release, and he immigrated to Israel in 1986.
I meet with a lot of new immigrants, and I love to be in the airport and to see this moment of them going down from the airplane, because you think that after each of these people, there are at least 50 generations of Jews who are praying and dreaming about coming to Jerusalem.
Biblical prophets Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel all spoke of a time when God would bring the Jewish people back to the land of Israel. The prophet Amos says they'll never be dispersed again. Although they're part of a prophetic and exciting journey, immigrants face a whole new world when they arrive.
Some of the people left everything. Left the friends, left families, left the smell, the food, the jobs, all the things that they knew. They're coming here and they start a new life.
That's why the state works to create a smooth transition. Ziva Avrahami leads Beit Canada, Ulpan Etzion, an absorption center in Jerusalem. New immigrants live here free for 5 months so they can focus on learning Hebrew and living in Israel.
We call them the first home in the homeland. They're coming here and they have like a soft landing. They don't need to be afraid from things. We help them to be part of Israel, but step by step.
How important is it that they learn Hebrew?
The main reason that the people are here in this absorption center is to get to know the language. The Hebrew is the key to the Israeli society. If you want to be part of Israel, if you want to be the leader of this beautiful country, you need to know the language.
Ulpan Etzion is mainly for millennials who have a university degree. You could say it's like a prophetic melting pot. Are there conflicts between them, culturally, socially, adapting and adjusting to one another?
Yes. There are different people for different places. The culture is different. The language is different. So to put together 250 young adults in one place, you can imagine what's going here in the evenings. A lot of people are becoming friends for life.
Do the majority of them then stay in Israel?
The first year and the second year are the hardest one. And if you survive the 2 years, people are staying in Israel. This is going to be their home.
I spoke with some of the students about their experiences.
It's the land of the Jewish people, and that is why I'm here. I want to essentially come home and to be with my fellow Jews and to please God find a Jewish husband.
Why did you come?
Well, I came to Israel because I feel this is the homeland of the Jewish people, and for the first time in 2,000 years we have our own homeland, and we can build a prosperous Jewish state, and I think that's very exciting to be a part of.
What kind of work would you like to get into?
So I studied accounting and finance, so hopefully something in that area.
Do you want to get married?
Yeah, for sure. That's why I'm here in Israel. There's plenty of beautiful Jewish girls, and let's hope I can find one of them.
I asked Sharansky if he thought all the Jewish people need to come home.
Our prophets speak about it very clearly, about this grand design of ingathering of the people of Israel in the land of Israel. And I want to help the people to make this decision not by giving orders, not by pushing them, even not by shaming them, but simply by giving them the feeling how good it is.
Scott Ross for CBN in Jerusalem.
Up next, during the coronavirus pandemic, CBN Israel lends a hand to those in need. Lydia is a Holocaust survivor in Israel experiencing the COVID-19 lockdown of the country. Living in isolation and not being allowed to go out for food, CBN Israel brings her bags of groceries and reminds her that people remember and care about her.
Lydia is a Holocaust survivor. She lives in Israel, where the forced isolation of the COVID-19 lockdown brings back tragic memories of her experiences during the Nazi invasion of Ukraine.
I still remember the constant fear and hunger of those days.
Lydia's mother gave herself up to the Nazis and was killed in order to keep Lydia and her brother safe. Then they spent the rest of the war hiding under the floorboards of her grandparents' home.
We survived, but I can't forget what we went through.
Lydia later moved from Ukraine to Nazareth. Israel is under strict quarantine rules to keep the COVID-19 virus from spreading, and Holocaust survivors are especially at risk. They can't leave their homes to get groceries, so CBN Israel is delivering vital food to them while taking every precaution to keep them safe.
It's amazing you care enough to do all this for me.
Thanks to CBN Israel donors, Lydia can have peace of mind knowing someone is there for her during this difficult time.
It's really making a big difference in my life. Thank you.
Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.